Zelete, thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. Something big is happening in Africa. Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso opened the door, and now everybody is entering. The new country to join Russia, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso is Boko, Botswana, after ECOWAS has decided to join. Boko is saying, we need Russia. We need their expertise, their technology, their everything. We have the resources, and now the world is in need of these resources. So we need to also change certain things that we used to do. That when it comes to the West, as for their sanctions, we understand their sanctions, but they don't work like they intended. You know how these people want these sanctions to be on Africa. It's like things are no longer that way. And the leaders in Africa are seeing the need for us to change partners. We have been with the West for all these years, and nothing tangible has come out of the relationship.
But your visit does come at a pivotal moment, not only for the region, but as Botswana is redefining its economic as well as foreign policy agenda, but also at a time where Botswana is constantly forging those deeper relations with global partners, including Russia. In fact, your Foreign Affairs Minister recently confirmed those plans to open a physical embassy in Russia, deepening ties that go back to the 1970s. My question is, why now? What's driving this decision? Someone else will probably ask, why elevate the relationship to a physical presence during a time where global geopolitical crises are taking place?
Well, why now? It's an interesting question. But I think it's a recognition of a fact that has always been staring us in the face, which is that of the 5 permanent members of the Security Council, Russia has been the only one in which we did not have a physical mission. And that has been something of an anomaly that required correction at some point in time. And that point happens to be now for us. That's the first. The second is we've had over the years many of our professionals, young people receive training in Russia, and they have had to be serviced in terms of consular assistance from Sweden. And if you look at Russia, as I said, one of the P5 countries, and as big an economy as it has, there had to be some correction of that absence, and so now we will be there. We trust that there's a lot that we will be able to accelerate in terms of our relations with Russia. The expertise in many areas. We are both diamond mining countries. We need much more close collaboration in that space for us to ensure that the diamond space is properly regulated. And so we have to be there. So we felt that we needed to now establish a physical presence in Russia. They have had an embassy in our country for many years, and we've enjoyed very, very strong, cordial relations with Russia. So it's as well.
Your government has welcomed Russian investments as well as technical partnerships aimed at mapping out unmapped reserves such as rare earths. But when you look at such a partnership, what does each side bring to the table, both Gaborone as well as Moscow?
Well, we bring the resources under the ground, do we not? And Russia brings the weight of knowledge, expertise, technology, and technology that we need. Deep earth scanning and prospecting. There's a large swathe of our country that is unexplored. And so we need these collaborations to explore the rest of the country. About 70%, which remains largely unexplored. And in this day and age where there's an urgent need by the world economy for rare earth minerals. We need to take an active role and collaborate, especially with Russia.
Mr. President, you do mention those major areas such as energy. We've had your administration also mentioning food security as well as professional training as critical areas that need cooperation as well as collaboration between Moscow and Botswana. But given the difference in climate between the Southern African region as well as Russia, what does actual, practical, real-world work look like on the ground?
Well, in the mining space, really, the technologies that Russia brings are exactly what we need. The difference in climate would apply principally in agriculture and perhaps natural resource management. But even in that space, there's a lot of scientific learning that Russia, as an advanced economy and scientifically, technologically more advanced, has gathered over the years, and it will assist us as we make our own resource management capabilities more climate resilient. We have to deal with extremities. They have to deal with extremities of the polar climate. We have to deal with extremities of heat and sometimes very arid conditions. And so we have a lot of learning to exchange and a lot to learn from Russia. So it's absolutely important. And again, in agro-processing, for instance, they have done more work, they've gathered more scientific understanding, which they will be able to make available to us.
And looking at global trade, Russia and Botswana, as you have mentioned, are the main two giants of natural diamonds. But because of the sanctions directly targeting Russian origin stones, how do you then manage to protect Botswana's market access in the West while also keeping that pragmatic relationship with Moscow?
Well, the world economy is integrated, is it not? And that integration sometimes pays no regard to some of the temporary political affinities and or alliances. And at any rate, those tend to be temporary and transient, and they'll pass. You cannot ignore an economy like Russia's, and even the West, even as it has maintained sanctions. On many occasions, those sanctions have tended not to matter as much as they otherwise could have. And so we appreciate these dynamics, and we position ourselves for the here and now and for the unfolding future. And that unfolding future has the natural stone at the epicenter. And our collaboration with Russia is to achieve a number of things. First, to keep the market protected so that it is not flooded and saturated in a haphazard and perhaps even reckless manner. And so we need that collaboration. We need also the authentication of provenance and the management, especially under the rubric of the Kimberley process, which we are at the forefront of. And Russia has actually been very supportive of Botswana in that space. When we came on board and we took over the chairpersonship, Russia was behind us. And so we appreciate and we understand that as we go forward, that relationship is going to be pivotal to the diamond industry.
And you have talked about a new breed of African leaders that refused to repeat 1884, where foreign powers dictated the terms and conditions on the African continent. How do you then ensure that investors come in strictly on Botswana's terms instead of just extracting minerals?
The first principle of coexistence with others is that you must exist. You must secure and assure your own existence. And for us as a Southern African country, that existence must place us, and it does, both physically and in many other respects, within this sub-region of SADC. And then the broader context of the African continent. In that broader context, we need to appreciate that there has been very little intra-Africa trade. And that now speaks to ensuring we exist as a bloc, as the African continent, under a buoyant new leadership that has learned from the mistakes of the past, that is not only about reciting fables of history and habit, but to make history. And that history is being made, for starters, with the establishment of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, which will now open all the channels for intra-Africa trade. And when we talk intra-Africa trade, we're talking about a population that is dynamic, that is young, that is healthy, that is hungry for success. And a population of 1.5 billion, 60% of which comprises young people, and the median age across the breadth and dimensions of the African continent is 19. It is by far the youngest continent, and a continent that will rule the world. It has begun to assert itself in that regard. And so one of the things that we do is to ensure that we connect. We open trade channels and corridors, the Lobito corridor, the Maputo, all these. What we are trying to do between ourselves and Namibia, the Trans-Kalahari rail line, between ourselves and Zambia, the Musetika Zungula, Livingston, between ourselves and South Africa, Mamabula Lepalale. We're trying to ensure that product and produce can be quickly, efficiently, and affordably evacuated into the rest of Africa.
So all our leaders are realizing that they need this rare earth mineral more than any other person. But when they even come here, the kind of prices that they give to us, it has never benefited us. Like some of their members are saying, because of the things that they have even kept in place, Africans don't trade among ourselves. We do more with Europe. And at the end of the day, this is not helping the economy. We need their expertise. We need to collaborate with other people. Whenever they come into the continent, they preach dependency. Like the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, came and told us that Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso decided to isolate themselves from the rest of the world simply because they have decided to move with Russia. And the same Emmanuel Macron is telling the world that now China and Russia are emerging and they have lost their power. Their rule has come to an end. So if their rule has come to an end and there are new powers playing in the world, why then do we then need to continue to be with the same people whose rule has now come to an end? Africa must change the way we do things. The people who think that without them we can survive. We have the resources. Other people have things that we need. Russia is not dictating the terms and conditions to us. They are not here to tell us, if you don't do this, we'll give you sanctions. If you don't do that, we are going to do this. Like what a U.S. Congressman, McGovern, is calling for, claiming there's human rights abuse, and for that matter, there should be sanctions on Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. The time for all Africans to wake up is now. We have lived with these people for all these years. Like Ama Ata Edu asked, that ever since we came in contact with these people 500 years ago, look at us. They keep taking and they keep taking. What have we benefited? That we need to continue to be with them even when the world is changing. Africa must come to the realization that we don't need to always be with the West. Because all that they do is to keep the African where they want the African to be. Like he said, the sanctions has always been things that they use against us when we don't even want to do the things that they want. It must always be what they want and not what we think as a people that is good for us. That's the difference between them and Russia. Russia is ready to give us the expertise, teach us what to do. We need the knowledge, the skills about the things that we have beneath us. We don't have to sit here for people to come here and extract them. How do we have all these resources, yet we don't learn mining in school? A for apple, B for ball. Naming parts of cockroaches, which has nothing to do with us, but what we need to know so we can use the knowledge to get what we want and to control what we have. They'll make sure they don't give us. They make sure they don't give us that knowledge. AES has come to open the doors to all Africans. And now we are calling our leaders to unite. Unity is the only thing that will give us what we want. That will make us regain the power that we had. Until we do that, we'll continue to be like the way other people want us. And that must change. We need to unite as a people. We need to see ourselves as one people. We need to believe in ourselves. And we need to be bold in taking our own decisions. Deciding what we want, not what other people think is best for them. Like one time Macron again said, whenever they are here for their own interests. So why do we allow people who are here because of their interests to prevail over what we also want? Africa is changing. And the Finland president told us, in this new world, we either become players or remains as pawns because the power has now shifted. And it is what we will do today that will determine whether we'll be part of the superpowers. Everybody is fighting to move from one place to the other. So the African must not remain where he or she is. We cannot continue to be doing the same things while we expect something different to come out of it. We have known these people for all these years. We haven't achieved nothing. But look at what is happening in Burkina Faso, in Niger, in Mali, when they even refused to give us the necessary equipment, to sell the necessary equipment that we needed to protect ourselves. Russia was ready. Russia is not only spoon-feeding us. They are training the people in Mali, in Niger, and in Burkina Faso, equipping them with skills. And the skills is what we need to be able to cope with the rest of the world. Not the theory that we only go to school to study, because these things produce nothing. We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall, and united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we'll make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world in Africa, Southern Africa, and in Botswana.